This week we're going to take a look at chasing, dodging, and fleeing. This is our first presentation in a series of skill themes. When we think about chasing, dodging, and fleeing, you will do this with kindergarten, first, second grade mostly, but you'll also incorporate it throughout the school years as there are many activities that can help with a variety of skills that kids will need in order to do other sports and activities. When we think about chasing, fleeing, and dodging, a couple of things to keep in mind. Part of children's games since ancient times and form part of many sports played today. So when we think about the skills that they're going to be learning, they're incorporating these skills into many sports that our students are going to be active in. Skills developed by providing challenging tasks and games during physical education. And finally, these skills require children to have two things: a functional understanding of space awareness concepts and mastered fundamental traveling skills. So the other section that we're looking at this week is space awareness. If you watch a soccer game of young children, many times when they're playing, they all bunch together, they form a mob, and they all have one thing in mind, and that is to go after the soccer ball and to try to score. One of the things we want our children to have an understanding of is being able to maintain personal space, but also general space. And so we do that with activities related to the theme of chasing, fleeing, and dodging. And then the other thing is just mastering fundamental traveling skills. In order to do these activities, they've got to be able to walk, run, skip, hop, jump, and all the other traveling skills that we learn about. So when we think about teaching chasing, fleeing, and dodging, many children cannot perform the skills effectively in dynamic game situations. So we start from a very early age, the beginning of school, kindergarten, and we start teaching them chasing, fleeing, and dodging concepts so that they can transfer that into game situations. And then initial learning experiences enable children to become capable chasers, fleers, and dodgers before putting them into a game situation. So could you imagine a scenario where you're playing a game, let's just say Ultimate Frisbee, and a child has no concept of chasing, fleeing, and dodging? It'd be very difficult for them to be successful. So as we look at the building blocks and we look at the progression that takes place in elementary physical education, chasing, fleeing, and dodging is the foundation for many sports and skills and activities that they're going to be involved in as they go through the years. So when we teach chasing, fleeing, and dodging, again, we're looking at the four different levels. We have pre-control level, and then with this particular level, we want to provide opportunities to explore the skills in simple situations. So we're going to start very, very basic, and we'll see some examples of that here in just a minute. And then the control level, practice skills in relatively static situations, combining with only one other variable. And so when we think about going from the pre-control to the control level, we're going to make the task a little bit challenging, but still the expansion is going to be very, very minimal. And then we also have the utilization and the proficiency levels. Utilization presented once children effectively chase, flee, and dodge by reacting quickly and accurately to others. Again, you're starting to see that the skill is becoming more automatic instead of the students having to think through the process. And then with proficiency, involve activities where children use skills effectively in a wide variety of game contexts. So in other words, when are they going to be chasing one another? When would they need to be able to use the skill of fleeing? And when would they need to be able to use the idea of dodging, as is the case with this example of dodging players in a football type game. So when we look at our different levels, just look at some of the examples. And so in this progression, we're going to look at starting with the most difficult, and we're going to progress to the pre-control level. So when we think about the proficiency level, look at the very first bullet, or excuse me, the very first one that's listed: dodging while manipulating an object in a game situation. So not only are you having to control your body, but you're also having to control an object, and you're playing against another team, which means the environment is constantly changing, and so we have an open game situation. We continue, and as you make your way down, let's go back to the previous slide. In the utilization level, dodging while manipulating an object. Notice here, it doesn't say you're trying to chase someone. You're dodging while you're manipulating an object. But here's the difference between the proficiency level and the utilization level. You're not in a game situation. So you're not going to put a child into a game situation until they have reached that proficiency level. And I think many times this is where physical education teachers make their biggest mistake, is we put children in a game situation when they're not at that level. And then we have the final two levels that we want to look at for chasing, dodging, and fleeing. The control level, fleeing a chaser, as is the case in the game of frogs and flies, or overtaking a fleeing person, which you would do in the game catch-up chase. Now, one of the things we'll do when we go into the gym is that we will try some of these different games that will be great for chasing, dodging, and fleeing in the classroom, and we'll look at some examples at the different levels as well. And then finally, the pre-control level. This is the base of our pyramid. A child needs to be able to do these activities before they can advance to that next level. So we're starting from the most basic. So we have make-believe chase, traveling to dodge, traveling to flee, and moving obstacles. In other words, for example, traveling to dodge. Let's say you have objects on the floor. You have the students start on one side and you have them skip to the other side, and you want them to try not to touch an object. Now, for most of us, that seems very simple, very easy, but for a young child, controlling their body, having to move so that they don't touch something can provide quite a challenge. Once they have mastered that, then you know that they're ready to move to that next level.